Hi, welcome to another lesson in Paintabilities. Today's lesson is going to be focusing on bluebirds, and this is the picture that we're painting. So we've got two different photo inspirations for this design. I want to go ahead and get a look at those, and let's go over these together. This first picture is the inspiration photo for the actual bird itself. And I really like this pose for this bird. It really gives you that feel of how fluffy and sweet looking he is. And then this second picture is a different pose, but I really liked the foreground and background around this bird and this better. I didn't care so much for the pose. So we're going to be combining the two of these together to create this fun painting. So let's get started working on our bluebird together. So here I've taken the picture of the bluebird that I want to paint, and I've blown it up and inserted it into an oval. I use PowerPoint to do this, and this is printed on an 8.5 by 11 page. And I didn't print this so that I could use it for a reference for painting, because as I've mentioned before, printers can be very off from the right colors that we want to see and that we do see in photographs. So what I printed this for was so I could make a pattern of the bird, and then I could appropriately sketch it onto my surface, which this surface that I'm using today is a beaded oval. This is from Plaid Enterprises, and this is a beaded edge plaque, product number 48166. This is available on onestroke.com and also on Plaid online.com. I believe that that is their website. But anyway, this is an MDF board, and it's got a wonderful wood grain on it, so I thought it would be perfect for this project. So I printed this out, and it does come with a hanger too, by the way. I printed this out so that it matched the oval, which is basically an 8 by 10 size, okay? And so now I have my bird appropriately sized for my oval. I don't have to try and sketch that in. So then I came in with tracing paper, and I laid that over my printed piece, and then I used that to sketch around with marker, looking through the tracing paper from the photograph. Okay, so now I've got a good sketch. I don't have to hand sketch that, which makes it a lot easier. And now I can take this bird and place it, I've cut it out, and I can place it anywhere I want to inside this oval. But essentially, if you look at how I have it centered and placed in this oval printout, that's where I want it to be. So I'm going to kind of lay this here and then line that up. So that's where I want it to be, which is right about there. Okay, then I can take some painter's tape, and I can tape this down and transfer it. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I've got it where I want it to be. Okay, and remember from the photographs, there's a couple of different sources I'm using. This one that I printed is the one that I like for the bird image itself, but we're going to take a little liberty and place him in a different setting because I didn't care for the photographic setting. He was just on a bare branch. So we're going to add a little more to this design ourselves. So now I can take transfer paper, and you put that shiny side down, and then you can transfer the image onto the wood. So that was not a good place to put that. So right about there probably, so I can tape it here. Keep it from moving. All right, so then, like, I always want to transfer with a rounded end pen or stylus. I like a pen, and especially like a red pen, because then I know where I've already traced and where I haven't. Okay, so and on tracing paper, this is very thin, so you don't want to push real hard, and you want to make sure that it's going through. So let's lift that up and see. Yep, it is. Okay, so put this back. You want to do that first before you get too far in your transfer. Okay, so then we can come along here And I'm making sure I'm getting the outline of the bird shape itself. Is fairly dark. Okay, so we'll come around here, and then the eye placement is really important. And the thing when I was trying to sketch this myself, the thing I was really struggling with was the beak. So where it went and how it lined up to the eye was giving me a hard time. So I thought, okay, we'll do it this way, and this will make it a lot easier. His tail's going to come down, but it's going to disappear behind that juniper bush. So we may not see too much of this, but I'm just going to get that much of it in there. All right, and then he kind of comes up right here. Now, where the color transition lines are, I don't want those to be really dark, so I'm just going to kind of lightly hit them with my pen without too much pressure. And hopefully that will not leave a dark mark. Okay, so now when we pick this up, and we've got our bird transferred on there. So yeah, those didn't make too dark of marks. Okay, so what I can do is actually want them just a slight bit darker so I can see them. And so you can see them. Okay, so now we've got everything laid out where we want it to be, and we can start working on our bird. So first thing I want to do, as I always do, is we want to address the background first. And so I want to get some, and so I want to get this kind of stained in background. We're going to kind of watercolor effect look on this with some colors. I'm going to want some, let's get some medium gray. Okay, so some medium gray here. And a bit of sap green. We're just going to kind of blur in this background with some floating medium worked into our brush. So we need medium. And we're going to use some burnt umber. There we go. All right, and I think that's good for now. So what I want to do is let's get our, let's get a 3/4 inch flat. Okay, and I'm going to get medium worked into this 3/4 inch flat. And then I'm going to side stroke this burnt umber. And so if you were doing this on canvas instead of wood, you could put in any kind of background you want to. All right, you can do what I'm doing here, or you can sponge in something or whatever you'd like, okay? All right, so what I want to do is kind of come around, need a lot more medium with this. Let's come around this edge. And we'll darken this with the umber, burnt umber. Now there's a couple things you can do to address the rest of this wood piece also, which is you can leave it this natural wood color, which is kind of pretty, or you can paint it or do this kind of watercolor wash over. I guess that's 3 things, right? So lots of options, whatever you like. I'm thinking gold would actually be very pretty with this, or you could keep with the blue tones of the Bluebird itself and put that in there. All right, so continuing to work around this. Remember when you're floating color, I should have spoken about this a little bit before, but you want to load with medium on your brush and then side stroke a color. And you want to get that about 1/3 of the way across the brush. All right, so where it disappears about halfway. So 1/3 of the way is fairly strong, and then by halfway across it's disappeared into nothing, right? Okay. So we've got this real pretty kind of vignette going around, and that medium, that line left from that medium when it dries won't show. Okay, so now I want to start adding in some of this background trees and greenery, etc. So continuing with this 3/4 flat, I'm going to come and get with medium, I'm going to get some medium gray. And I'm going to work that into my brush with some of this burnt umber. Okay, so you've got medium, medium gray, and burnt umber. And so behind the bird, we're going to have a bit of a branch that comes right up here and disappears. And we'll have another one right there. And then down below is going to be the actual evergreen, so I'm not going to worry what is down there, but let's add a little more of these branches back here. Just the illusion of, or the impression of their back there. Okay, and then over here, more medium. I want this to be real faint, and the wood grain is showing through, which is kind of nice. Okay, and let's just have a little bit of something coming up from behind the head here. Okay, now I'm going to wipe that brush off, get more medium, and we've got this sap green right here that I'm just going to kind of pick up, and then we're going to work some of the burnt umber in with it. So medium. And so all I want to do with this, because this is got a little bit of evergreen look to it, is you're going to kind of tap in on the chisel. Just some little pine needle looking texture on those branches. So that's the sap green, a little bit of burnt umber, medium. And you want to keep that thin, so like that got a little heavy and dark, so I'm going to take off some of that color. And let's come work this in a little more, and we can thin that right back out again. Little bits of green and brown. Okay, and then over here, let's turn this way so I get a little more of the green on there. And so this is loose. And a lot of what you're seeing is actually just the wet from the clear gel of the medium, and that's going to disappear when it dries, and all you'll see is the stroke marks from the brush. Okay, so little bits of that green with the brown. I'm even getting just a touch of this gray, more medium. And we'll finish these up here. And you can put any background you want to for a bluebird. They're kind of a, for here where I live in Florida, they come very early in the spring, February. Actually, this January right now, some of them, I've seen some finches and some bluebirds by our pond, but definitely February we'll start to see more of those bright bluebirds. So it might be, you know, for you a little later in the spring if you live in a cooler climate when they start showing up. But okay, all right, so that's giving me the background that I want, and then I'm going to let that dry. And we're going to work on our bluebird. Okay, so let's put out our colors for that. We're going to use some Look at Me blue, which is a brighter blue. And then to shade that a bit, I'm going to put out some Cobalt. We'll see how much of that we actually use. And then we're going to need Licorice for the eye and the beak and the claws. Let's put that over here just a little bit. And then, of course, some Wicker white to go put in the chest feathers and tummy feathers. Okay, and then our orangey chest, we're going to use some Pueblo. Okay, and I didn't mention, but these are all Plaid FolkArt multi-surface colors. And the multi-surface is wonderful because it is a self-sealing paint from Plaid Enterprises. And so we don't have to seal any of this if we don't want to. Put about a little bit of pure orange out there as well. Okay, so I think that's all the colors I have except for what I need for my greens that are going to go in the front. Okay, so working on this bird, we want to address it kind of from the back to the front. And so in back to the front terms for a bird, we're going to be looking at down here, the lowest part that's underneath, and then start building up to the top of the bird. Okay, so I'm going to first get a base color on there, and then we can apply the feather strokes. So I've got a 12 flat here for now. I'm going to get some medium with that because I'm on wood. I'm definitely going to want some medium. And then we're going to get some Wicker white. Let's flatten this out so I can properly load. Okay, and I'm going to get a touch of gray and work that in to kind of dull that white down so that when we put the feather colors on there, the white of those strokes are going to show through over top of this kind of duller base color. Okay, so a little medium. And so let's come down here to the bottom of our bird. And we're going to pull this up. And even when I'm stroking a base color, I still want to follow the curve of the body of the bird. Okay, so from the center point, which the center point of the bird is right here. Okay, so from there, it's going to curve to the right. And then on the other side of it, it's going to have a little bit of more of a straight up in this case, but slight curve to the left. Okay, so it'll come up on this side. And then pull up here. This wood is really thirsty, so I need quite a bit of medium to get this color to move. Okay, and then as it's coming up into this part where the orange is going to show, I'm going to sweep that up there. I don't want a hard stop line on that. So just sweep that up. There we go. Okay, so it's kind of a dull grayish looking down, grayish white, but it's very faint. Let me get just a, oops, that's a lot. Touch more of that. Okay. All right, now, before I go any further, I need to address this tail because that is sticking down behind. I should have put that in there first. So I need white, and then I'm going to come and side load some of this Look at Me blue. Okay, and we're going to put in the layers of feathers under here. So let's come right up underneath the body with that blue to the outside, and then we'll flip the brush, get a little more white. Okay, and then that's pretty much going to disappear underneath whatever greenery is in front. So what I want to do is let's get a little bit of this black, okay, and this Look at Me blue, and we're going to kind of work that to a blue-gray, a little more. Okay, all right, so now because these outside feathers, actually the tail feathers crossing, or the wing feathers crossing over the back and down the tail. So you've got this dark feather right there laying over, and then you have a little bit of that wing feather right there. Okay, so that's a blend of side load of Look at Me blue and a tiny bit of Licorice. Okay, so that's giving a really pretty color actually. And so we'll have one more right there, bringing that up around the body. Okay, now wipe that off and let's come back to the white with the Look at Me blue. And we're going to flip this around so we've got white. Let's do this one first and then this one. They're layers underneath like that. Okay, so you see the different white layers, they're down, and then the dark color is underneath, right? Here and here. Okay. So that's better. Now we're ready to, let's get this off the, that's why I should have done it first, right? Okay, so now we're ready to get our feathers colored based in for the orange piece of this. So in this case, we're going to go where I went from a darker grayish color for the white area, right? We want a darker color where the brighter orange is going to show. So that's what the Pueblo is for. So I'm getting medium and Pueblo. All right, and we're going to start here and work that down very lightly. Okay, it's almost like you're staining the wood instead of painting it, right? And you're going to let that come sweep right over that wispy edge of the white from the below. Alright, so now let's get more medium, and that Pueblo will work this side, and then we'll meet in the middle. So here I want to kind of wisp it up and down so that when I work it into where that blue area is on the head, again, I don't have a hard line. Okay. And under the beak. A little more medium. And then we're meeting in the middle right here. So just like I was telling you before, where it's going to curve on the body on this side, it's going to be straight in the middle-ish, straight-ish, and then curve to the left on this side. Now that's going to become more important when we put the actual wings or feather strokes on there with the rake brush, okay? All right, now clean that one more time, and then we will add the base color for the head of our bird. So we're going to come back to, I've got clean 12 flat, medium, and we're going to get a little blend of the Look at Me blue with some of the Cobalt, okay? That way when we put the lighter blue by itself on top with our rake brush, it'll be lighter. And you'll see the feathers. Okay, so a little more medium, working that color, and everything comes from the top of the beak back. And I'm going to go, excuse me, I'm going to go right over the eye. You should be able to still see it through the paint color. Okay, now I'm actually, I want to bring, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time saying what I want to do. I want to bring it across this line here instead of down. And everything is going to sweep to the back of the head, all right? So it sweeps this way and this way. It'll, again, be more apparent and necessary when we start doing the rake brush strokes. Okay, so we've got our pudgy little guy there. And I want to put in the eye and the beak before we go any further. So let's get a one liner. We'll come back around here and get a little bit of water on there, and I'm going to work that in with some licorice. Okay, and oops, sorry. Okay, and so we're going to come right in here and get the shape of our eye. They have just a little bit of a point back on the back side of the eye, okay? And then the beak, we're going to come from this point and then lay it down. So you come up the slope of the head and then down the curve to the side. And then here, lay it down. A little bit more water with that, I think. Yeah. Okay. Now, in the picture, it's reflecting the light. And so to get that look on this, we're going to add some medium gray And we're going to come back along the tip. See if that helps. No, it does not. All right, so we're going to work with the white. I just don't want it too white. Okay, it's just a glare. Okay, so let's come in here. There we go. And then down here, as it comes into the face. A little bit more white. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. And then I can wipe that off and come back to the black, the licorice. And let's pull in to pull that back just a little bit. The glare I'm talking about, right? So we just want to have this. There we go. Okay. All right, so this needs to go up more. Let me get that white on there again. From here, it needs to go up and then down. There we go. That's better. All right, and then on the eye, we just do a little bit of a glare right there for now. Okay, and then we'll do more detail around the eye after we get the feathers in. Okay, so let's start working on the feathers now. I'm going to get my larger, this is the 1/2 inch rake, or it says 3/8 inch, but a lot of them said 1/2 inch. So anyway, get that with water, and then we're going to come to our white. Okay, and we're going to work that together. A little bit more paint, not quite so runny. Okay. All right, so here we want to start at the bottom, and we're going to stroke those feathers around and over to the outside edge, over the background color that we had, that kind of dulled whitish gray, right? So then let's come over here. So working with this rake brush, you want to be up on the chisel, and then you apply pressure and sweep with the tip of the brush as you lift. Okay. And I want to be a little loose with this because that got a little heavy right there. Let's do this side first. So we'll continue to come up here. And then here we're going to kind of sweep. So it goes up into the orange. And here, so this is the center point, and then here we're going to sweep it this way as we come back down over to this side. Get a little more of that white. Okay. And so the rest of this, we're going to pull. Let's get water with that. Okay. Now if that looks a little too textury for you, you can come back in with just a tiny bit of that gray in some spots. It's so small. You're just trying to give some depth to the feathers, okay? So it's very little. And you can kind of turn it this way. So your brush is parallel, or vertical, excuse me. Okay. All right, so let's sweep up in here a little bit. Okay, so now we're ready to start adding our orange colored feathers. And so with this same brush, I'm going to continue. Let's get a little bit of water with that. And we're going to work this in with the white that's already on our brush. Okay, and so let's come around the sides, coming over the white. We'll do this down here. Need a little more white to it. If you look at the picture, the reference photo, these side colors here are very light, almost bordering on turning white, okay? So picking up a little bit of white and working that together. There we go. So we got the orange, grabbing the white. We'll come over here. And then we'll come back to a little more orange. With the white. Right, and so you're getting that over top of the Pueblo that we put underneath. And now we're going to make him bright. Okay, so the key is to come layer these feather strokes over top of the lower ones so they're not sticking out on their own. Okay. All right, now as I get closer to the neck and under the head, it does get a little darker. So I'm going to pick up some of that Pueblo with the orange right in here. And come down the neck. And here, a little more. And remember, these are feathers, so he's fluffy. He's going to have a little bit of scruff from the feathers poking out along the sides. Orange and Pueblo. And we're going to come right up underneath here. Okay, now the feathers are kind of sticking straight out at you here. And so let's get just a touch of the burnt umber with that Pueblo, because you've got to have little short, darker strokes to help those show up right in there. Going out to the sides. He's cold and he's fluffed up. Okay. So just adding a little bit of that shorter texture coming towards you. And then over, get a little bit more of that burnt umber over here. It's going to be dark because it's underneath the beak and he's shaded it. He's created a little shadow there. Okay. Now he has some indentations in the body here where the wings and things start to form, and so we don't want to completely make him look rounded and full. If we can come through here and help that show up a little better. So you darken it and then come back with your water and your lighter color and come over that. There we go. So see what I'm talking about? He's got a little bit of shadow because his body's got indentations where it forms. But you can do that or you don't have to. Okay, now I'm going to come back and get some white. And right in here, let's bring that up a little higher. Okay, just going to lighten up this area here. Okay, and then we'll bring the white right in there. So I got rid of any of that Pueblo or an orange that was left in my brush. Okay, he's looking really good. So you just got to work with it and don't feel like you're sunk if you picked the wrong color or put it in the wrong place. You can come back. It's wood. It dries really fast. And you can come right back over it and work more colors. Okay, so don't be afraid. I really like these rake brushes for that too, because you can sweep little hints of color without causing too much trouble. Okay, all right, he's looking good and fluffy and chubby. Now before I leave, I just want to, I just realized over here he's kind of not fluffy. There. So we're going to help him out a little bit. So little hints of white on these orange and darker colored feathers actually is lending to some texture and making them look a little more realistic. So go ahead and do that. Just little touches of white with the color that's already there. Okay. There, he's looking good. All right, now we're ready to work on the head, and I'm going to switch to my smaller rake brush to do that. So this is a 1/4 inch rake. Get some water with that, and we're going to come to our Look at Me blue and work that with the water on this brush. Okay, and let's get just a touch of white. A little more touches of white. All right, so let's start. We're going to start from back here, and these feathers stroke this direction, kind of sweeping around the side of the head and towards the back. All right, and a few come down like that. All right, and then from above the eye, they come around this way. And it might be easier to come from the back and come forward. All right, a little more Look at Me blue, and from the top of the eye, we're going to come that way. So it's to the side and a little up. Let's get a touch of the Cobalt in there. There we go. Okay, so now up the front, a little more of that Look at Me blue. And let's get some of the Cobalt right here from the beak. You want to kind of dance it back and forth on the chisel edge of that brush, and then you can add a little pressure pulling back from the beak. And you go around the eye, down a little bit into that orange. There we go. Okay, now let's get a little more white on there. And I want a little lighter color on the top of his head. There. And then you can pull that forward just a little. Okay, oh, he's looking super cute. Okay, so a little more cobalt in here, and I think we're in good shape. So let's pick up a little bit of white on here now, and right around, ooh, that's a lot of white, right around this beak area. Let's give him a little wispy pull back, okay, back towards the eye. And we'll come back to that blue, pull into that. All right, there we go. Okay, he's looking really good. So we just need to take a script liner and finish up that eye. So let's get a 2 script liner, come back and get a little bit of inky black, inky licorice, twist that out so that you get a nice point without running, okay? And we're going to come reshape that eye. Then I want to get some white and work that in with that black, so it's not super strong white. Give it that twist so you don't lose your tip. And we're going to come, oh, and I need a little bit more. We're going to come underneath, right, and then back here, push it down. Along this beak here. And let's get some more of those blue feathers pulled around the base of that beak. And then we'll just clean that up with a clean flat brush. Now his eye, he kind of looks sad. I don't know. It's just me. Let's put some black back in there. And let's redo that glare. So a little bit of white. Let's bring this forward. So he's going to be here. And then we'll put a little dot right there. That's better. Okay, so now all we have to do is add the greenery in front and the juniper berries. So that's going to tie this blue together. Okay, so I'm going to put some, this is bright green. And I put out way too much, but it came out of my bottle really fast. Okay, so let's come to our 12 flat. We're going to get bright green and some sap. Let's get a little bit of cobalt on that sap. A little bit more. Okay. Okay, so he's sitting on this branch of juniper, and you're not necessarily seeing the branch itself, but you're going to have little leaves or needles, I guess it is. Let's get a little white on that bright green. There we go. Okay, so this branch is going to come right across here. And those needles, let's kind of lay them out here a little bit. Okay, so you're not going to see too much of the tail. And then everything's going to come through here. And we might have a little bit of it hanging this way. So you know what I think I'm going to do is let's kind of slip slap all this with green. Just to fill it in with some dark. There we go. And then we'll add our needles on that. We'll make it a lot quicker and a lot easier. Okay, so we filled that center area there, or bottom area I should say, with that green. Now let's come get our bright green and let's side load some white on one edge. Okay, so here we'll kind of fill this. This stuff goes all over different directions, so let's come up here. Stay up on that chisel. And just kind of pulling back short little strokes into the dark. Okay. And we'll get the border of this as it comes up around him first, and then we'll fill in coming forward. Little hints of it down at the bottom of it. You don't want to get too much detail. Let it kind of fade into the background here. And I'm just working my way back to my bird. And okay, so I'm just coming back each time and side loading that white. I'm not adding any more green to my brush. Okay, and here we're just going to have short little strokes so it looks like they're coming at you, and they're longer on the sides. Okay, so that's looking kind of good. All right, now I want to grab my script liner. Where'd that go? Here we go. And let's get some, I want to try something. If I don't like it, I'll take it back off. But I want to get some inky sap green, a little bit of this bright green. All right. And up here, We'll just have a few kind of little straggly pieces of it. It just was looking a little too Christmassy to me, so I want to, let's get some brown and we'll pull some branches through it. Okay. There we go. I think that helped. I think it was just, it needed a little bit of softening around the edges and coming up in front of him here. Okay. Now, all we need to do is add our berries. So I'm going to get, I have a 1/4 inch dauber here, and I'm going to get this Look at Me blue and half Cobalt. And then on the Look at Me blue side, I'm going to tap into just a little bit of white. Okay, so that's my load. And we're just going to come through here and add a few of these juniper berries. And they grow in clusters, so it's not like there's groups of 3 or something. They overlap each other a lot. So with this dauber, you're just giving a little 1/4 turn and push. And that white is just giving it just enough highlight. Let's get a little more of the cobalt in there. And this green is still a bit wet, so it's adding to the coloration of these berries, which is working nicely. Okay, so we'll add just a few hints out here to frame it. There we go. Okay, I like that. So with all of that, he's sitting under there inside and behind this branch. Now you don't have to worry about doing the claws, the feet, or anything like that. Okay, so now all I really want to do is just to finish this off, we can come in and do a little bit of shading. All right, so I've got my 12 flat here. We're going to come and get some medium on there, and then we're going to side stroke some medium gray. Okay. My brush is really wet. Let me lay that out. There we go. All right, so down here, and it's better if you let this dry a little longer. Let's come on this side first. And we'll shade him out just a little bit, just to set him behind, a little further behind this branch. Just watch out for those berries because those are going to be wet. Okay. And this will kind of push back that tail a little more. Let's come underneath here and then flip the brush. There we go. There. Okay. And I would like to yeah, I would like to come along this side, so let's work in a little bit of that Pueblo. And right through here. And along this side. Let's get, where's that gray? There, or no, I don't want gray. Actually, the brown would be better with the Pueblo. Sorry. Okay. Just to kind of darken this left side a little bit. And right through here. You can kind of sweep that down, and your texture will still show from the rake brush that we used, right? It's just darkening a little bit. And then we'll pull out a little bit of orange there. There. Okay. So just kind of tapping in some white highlights and then softening those in. All right, so there we go. I am really happy with this guy. I think he's turned out great. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I'm going to go ahead and get some, and let's go with this since it's running all over my plate. Let's go with some inky sap green. And we'll come right over here and sign that off. Okay, so that is our little Bluebird guy on a plaque, and I'm real happy with the way the background looks and everything. So I think I'm going to do the beadwork here around here with maybe some sort of complementary color. I might even add some blues or something, but you'll see it in the finished picture. Come back next time and we will be doing a bullfinch, which is a beautiful bird, and I don't think it gets nearly enough painted time. So I hope you'll join me then. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.